there's been a little bit of, I'd say, lack of reading the scripture properly. When I go to it, whatever I am researching, I'm trying to get to the meaning of the words, the translation as best I can. When we look at, there's a lot of Christians today. I'm going to call them pseudo Christians because their path may look like they're in belief of God, but you have to look at what they spend most of their time in a day doing. And generally, that's usually serving money or working for money, not for God. So we know there's been a mix-up in that. We have to really take clarity on Matthew 6:24, what it says. And the unfortunate thing, in order to get the money, you have to be serving the legal side. That's how it works. Very few people that I've ever met have ever been able to attempt any type of legal participation without being right in there. And especially at the moment we see now, they're really starting to lock it down very hard, especially anything to do with banking or things like that. So it's getting worse. It's not getting better. So, we have to see this, that it's actually leading to a full lockdown on identity. Now, when the subject matter here is hearsay, mark of the beast, why would I put that together like that? Why would I relate that what we've talked about in hearsay is got anything to do with the mark of the beast? Well, when we go into scripture at Revelation 14, okay, we go to verse 16 in particular, and it says, and he causes all, remember the collective. He's talking about the collective. He's not talking about those separate, because that's spoken of in scripture, that those that are written in the book of life are separate from those that are not in the book of life. So we have to say, and verse 8 even goes into that. It says, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, talking about this beast, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Okay, so now, when we go into 15 and 16 in particular, but 16 says, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Now, the right hand is very, very important here, because it appears that whatever be required, they're running into problems. The court system has a lot of problem just based on the fact that people will argue charges and fees and fines, and it just is to an extent, I think they allowed that to happen to make it look like you had some say. But in reality, if you don't show up to court and you have a legal address, a cover-up, and a post, where you're posted to know where you can be reached to actually receive the fines and the fees and the debt for the debtor name that you've surety, the legal title. So the future is not going to require, this, where the direction that the legal system is going. Mark is a blemish. We look up in scripture, look up mark of the beast, and it also uses the word scratch. If you go to the word chip, because we went to chip in Noah Webster's 1828, which was just before you went to the word chip, you had chipping. And then it said, see, buy, and sell. So to buy and sell. So you're dealing with, the whole concept of a chip is dealing with buy and sell. So it would understand that they would, if they put a chip in you, then basically they're verifying now that you have consented to absolutely join what is artificial. And therefore I need something artificial in your body, because you're not born with a chip. At least I hope you haven't been born with a chip. So if this legal chip, this artificial chip, goes into your body, you're no longer the property of God. You've now become the property of evil. And of course, whether it's the property of men or their legal personas they've made up in imagination, they've now entered this into your body. So if the beginning of this worked on hearsay, well then now there wouldn't be a problem on the side of the legal to enforce any longer, because all the data that is involved in this certificate, and who knows how much data is within this certificate, will now go into your hand, your right hand. So if I wanted to, look at it in simplicity, the chip will be now evidence of you verifying hearsay firsthand, because it'll be in your hand. It'll be firsthand knowledge of hearsay, and you'll be shirting it because it's in your body now. So now the hearsay is now reality. Prior to that, you had an ability to escape, which meant to leave one's garment behind, which was a cover. It was to leave something that was a cloak. This cloaks truth. This legal last name is cloaking the truth of who you are and who you belong to. So it's definitely an inducement by the largest, most intelligent deception, perpetrator, which is Satan. And no one could have come up with a system like this other than Satan. So he's now bringing his final war on what is God's by now basically placing it on the people he's deceived to now become part of his world, his legal fiction. So you will be giving you'll be deemed firsthand knowledge of hearsay every time you're pulled over, whether it's on the road or anything, because this device will be in you, this chip, this mark, this blemish, this scratch, which is, in fact, you look up the word chip as a synonym, it even brings up the word scratch. So there has been debate on whether or not it would be luciferase with a tattoo, or whether it would be something under the skin that would be an actual chip. But they have the ability to do it, and to my knowledge, the size of the head of a pin can carry millions of pieces of data. So they don't have a problem putting this together. This has happened on animals already. Now, if you are being deemed to be an animal, and that's what these legal surnames deem you to be, an animal, a beast, so it makes sense you would get the mark of a beast for real with these beast coat of arms names that were established to begin this process off. So it took a bit of time, but when you use those legal surnames in the past with a coat of arms, again, you needed authorization and permission to do this. So it was never yours, because you don't need permission from something that you already have. It's a ridiculous concept. So we've requested to be known in this system, and therefore we've become a surety for that position, and therefore that's why we're in this sin. So the mark of the beast is going to be a little easier than you think on how they're going to enforce that, because now I'm not going to debate who you are if I'm a law enforcement officer and I pull you over, because most likely I'll have a scanning device now, which will basically place your hand there so I know who you are in the legal system, so I know that you are now the property of this beast nation. So it's coming, it's prophesied, nothing's been hidden, but we know that the people of God are spoken of as clean without guile, which means without guilt, without debt. This is basically going to be a drawing line on which side you are. You're either serving God or you're going to be serving mammon. But I believe to an extent the mammon has become like a disease, a drug within many people, and they're not willing to let go of that fictitious peanut. And they're concerned about their existence in it, and you have to basically stop doing what you're doing, which is going to require a communication, and it's going to require a very strong one. And then at that point, actions speak louder than words. So are you going to basically do it? And are you going to stand to it? So we're at that moment now where communication of the highest level you've ever done is about to happen, but only you can stop this. It's not going to be a matter of the state doing it. You have to do it, because the state in their law under constructive trust has conscience, and because the fact is that you've been brought into a legal construct without your consent at time of birth, you do have an escape route through this. So you have to basically stop this bad bargain, as we mentioned in the previous videos that did talk about you can end an unconscionable bargain.